out of the red corner, an undefeated mixed martial artist holding a perfect professional record.
What's up, YouTube? Crossover MMA back in here for another video. This Saturday, January 18th is UFC 311. It's the first pay-per-view of the year. This will be my full card breakdown and prediction. Timestamps will be in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. In the first fight, we have Tagir Ulanbekov versus Clayton Carpenter. Tagir is 33 years old, 15-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 1 year ago. Tagir lands 3.22 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.3, he has a 53% finish rate, and is a minus 325 favorite. Clayton Carpenter is 28 years old, 8-0, coming off a submission win 2 months ago. Carpenter lands 4.56 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.71. He has a 75% finish rate and is a plus 260 underdog. Tagir is another one of the Dagestani guys. He trains with Habib, Islam, Umar, and the crew. He's another one of the new age Dagestanis that can mix in the striking. Tagir also possesses the grappling that all the Dagestani fighters are known for. He's big for the weight class. He'll have a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. Clayton Carpenter is a young, undefeated prospect. He's gotten 2 finishes in his 2 UFC fights. It's a big opportunity for Clayton. Will the stage be too much for him? I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to. I think the wrestling will be paramount in this fight, whereas Tagir lands 3.71 takedowns per 15 minutes, and Carpenter lands 2.95. I'm going to go with Tagir Ulanbekov. I'm banking on the experience, fighting the better competition, and being in the UFC for a little longer. In the next fight, we have Ricky Turcios versus Bernardo Sopaj. Turcios is 31 years old, 13-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission loss 7 months ago. Turcios lands 4.63 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.34. He has a 24% finish rate and is a plus 280 underdog. Sopaj is 24 years old, 11-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a brutal KO loss 10 months ago. Sopaj lands 3.06 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.56. He has a 71% finish rate and is a minus 355 favorite. This fight was scheduled back in 2024, got called off, and now it's happening in 2025. Ricky Turcios is a striker with a very unusual style, has solid output, but isn't a finisher at all. He likes to stay at range and just touch his opponents. Bernardo Sopaj is a well-rounded fighter that has skills wherever the fight goes. Sopaj will have to get past the 5-inch reach disadvantage and fight off the front foot, because if not, Turcios will just fight at range and will just outpoint him to a decision. For me here, I'm going to go with Bernardo Sopaj. If Turcios keeps this fight at range, like I said, he can definitely point his way to a win, but I just think Sopaj will be a bit too dynamic for him. In the next fight, we have Rinya Nakamura versus Muin Gafurov. Nakamura is 29 years old, 9-0, coming off a decision win 10 months ago. Nakamura lands 3.53 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.38. He has a 67% finish rate and is a minus 450 favorite. Gafurov is 28 years old, 19-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 6 months ago. Gafurov lands 3.03 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.25. He has a 68% finish rate and is a plus 330 underdog. Nakamura is a wrestler and former road to the UFC winner. He does have some power in his hands, but primarily uses grappling, especially since he's been in the UFC. This will be a step up in competition for him. I'm excited to see if he's added any new wrinkles to his game. Gafurov, on the other hand, is a BJJ practitioner that does have some power in his hands. He's fought solid competition in the UFC, but has lost to all the guys' names you would recognize, like Saeed Nurmagomedov, Chad, and Hellinger. I think this would be a really good test for Nakamura. Gafurov won't be overwhelmed by Nakamura's grappling and top pressure, and he'll definitely be here to win the fight. Gafurov will be very dangerous on the feet as well, but I'm going to go with Nakamura. I think the wrestling will shine through, and he'll just smother Gafurov's BJJ and look to control. In the next fight, we have Karol Rosa versus Ailin Perez. Karol Rosa is 30 years old, 18-6, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 5 months ago. Karol Rosa lands 6.49 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.91. She has a 25% finish rate and is a -185 favorite. Perez is 30 years old, 11-2, 4-1 in her last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 3 months ago. Perez lands 2.84 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.34. She has a 46% finish rate and is a +155 underdog. Karol Rosa is a Muay Thai fighter with crisp striking and nice kicks. She stands right in front of her opponent, stays in the pocket, and then when she throws her combination, she ends a lot of her combinations with an inside leg kick. Ailin Perez is a grappler. She primarily gets the takedown, uses that for control, beats up her opponents, or looks to get the submission. I think this would be a tough one because Karol Rosa will have a clear advantage on the feet, but Perez's grappling will definitely be an advantage for her if this goes to the ground. I think the takedowns will be there for Perez because Karol Rosa is so planted in her narrow Muay Thai stance. I'm gonna go with the grappler and the underdog here, Ailin Perez. I think she'll take advantage of the grappling. If not, Karol Rosa is gonna piece her up on the feet for 15 minutes. In the next fight, we have Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. Grant Dawson is 30 years old, 22-2-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO win 3 months ago. Grant Dawson lands 3.15 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.04. He has a 72% finish rate and is a -300 favorite. Ferreira is 39 years old, 19-5, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO win 7 months ago. Ferreira lands 5.04 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.43. He has a 50% finish rate and is a +240 underdog. Grant Dawson's a grappler that wants to get the fight to the ground in a hurry. Dawson's striking is the weakest link of his game. He lands 3.65 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he only has a 39% takedown accuracy. Diego Ferreira is a well-rounded veteran, more of a volume striker, but has very good anti-wrestling with 60% takedown defense and good submissions. Ferreira doesn't accept getting taken down, and he initiates scrambles like his life depends on it when he gets taken down. This makes it very tough on his opponents to control him when he's on the ground. I think this would be a tough one if Ferreira can put up some resistance and make it tough for Dawson's grappling, but I'm gonna go with Grant Dawson, but Ferreira's a very live dog here. In the next fight, we have Jailton Almeida versus Sergei Spivac. Jailton Almeida is 33 years old, 21-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 7 months ago. Almeida lands 2.46 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 0.72. He has an 83% finish rate and is a -400 favorite. Sergei Spivac is 29 years old, 17-4, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 5 months ago. Sergei Spivac lands 3.51 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.72, and he has a 71% finish rate. And he also will be a +310 underdog. Jailton Almeida is a grappler that wants to get the fight to the ground as soon as the fight starts. He doesn't waste any time shooting and getting his takedown to implement his game plan. Sergei Spivac is also a grappler, but he's actually the naturally bigger guy as he's the natural heavyweight. Spivac wants to get the fight on the ground as well, so we got 2 grapplers coming together, and we know how that usually goes is going to play out on the feet. I doubt it because both guys are so out of their element on the feet, and they both want it on the ground. I think Jailton Almeida will probably be the first guy to shoot a takedown, and Sergei Spivac will try to defend or maybe even initiate a scramble. I'm going to go with Jailton Almeida. I think he's going to come out on the front foot, throw that teep to the body, and then maybe even shoot a takedown as soon as the fight starts, like he's done in so many of his other fights. I just think his athleticism and the speed will be the difference. In the next fight, we have Peyton Talbot versus Raoni Barcelos. Peyton Talbot is 26 years old, 9-0, coming off a KO win 6 months ago. Peyton Talbot lands 8.38 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.57. He has an 89% finish rate and is a -1400 favorite. Barcelos is 37 years old, 18-5, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 10 months ago. Barcelos lands 5.22 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.79. He has a 48% finish rate and is a +775 underdog. Peyton Talbot's the young, hot prospect at bantamweight, with crispy striking and big-time power in his hands. Barcelos is a veteran that served as the gatekeeper for young, up-and-coming prospects, and that's exactly the spot he finds himself in this fight. I'm going with Peyton Talbot. I think the reach and the technical striking is going to be a bit too much for Barcelos here. Barcelos will have to try and make this fight dirty and implement some grappling and essentially slow Peyton Talbot down, but in the end, I don't think it's going to be enough. In the next fight, we have Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Elekana. Bogdan is 32 years old, 16-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO win 8 months ago. Bogdan lands 3.13 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.4. He has an 84% finish rate. Billy Elekana is 29 years old, 7-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO win 5 months ago. Bogdan's on a 2-fight win streak and looking to build on that momentum and make a run in a shallow division at light heavyweight. Elekana is making his UFC debut on a week's notice, but he's also on a 3-fight win streak and he'll enjoy a 1-inch reach advantage. We don't know much about Billy, but I'm going to go with Bogdan inside the distance just because of the short notice, and he's been on a little bit of a roll, and I think he's trying to go on a run here at light heavyweight. In the next fight, we have Kevin Holland versus Reinier de Ridder. Kevin Holland's 32 years old, 26-12, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO loss 3 months ago. Holland lands 4.24 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.21. He has a 58% finish rate and is a -120 favorite. Ridder's 34 years old, 18-2, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 2 months ago. Ridder lands 3.24 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.56. He has an 80% finish rate and is a +100 underdog. Kevin Holland's a long, rangy striker. Some crafty submissions up his sleeve. Holland still does have a hole in his game with his anti-wrestling and his takedown defense. The Ridder, on the other hand, is a BJJ practitioner that looks to finish the fight as soon as it goes to the ground. But getting the fight to the ground is kind of where the issue lies in his game. And in this fight, if Holland manages to keep this fight on the feet, I think he clips the Ridder with a right hand. In the Ridder's last fight against Gerald Meerschaert, he was getting touched a bit, and Meerschaert is also a grappler. So for me, I'm going to go with Kevin Holland here. In the next fight, we have Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Dariush is 35 years old, 22-6-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO loss 1 year ago, a brutal KO loss. Dariush lands 3.78 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.65. He has a 45% finish rate and is a +165 underdog. Moicano is 35 years old, 25-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 3 months ago. Moicano lands 4.42 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.6. He has a 46% finish rate and is a -200 favorite. Beneil Dariush is a well-rounded fighter with solid striking and good BJJ skills. He's on a 2-fight skid where he's gotten finished in both, and he's trying to get back into the win column. Moicano's also a well-rounded fighter with solid striking and BJJ skills. He's on a 4-fight win streak and looking to make a run at lightweight. On the feet, these two guys are evenly matched. Beneil Dariush's speed isn't the greatest, but Moicano isn't the fastest fighter either. This is good matchmaking because these guys' skills are comparable everywhere the fight goes, even with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Beneil Dariush has solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. I think this fight is going to be very competitive, very close. But I just like the momentum that Moicano has been on, and I think he can keep it going. In the featured fight, we have Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. Prochazka's 32 years old, 35-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a brutal KO loss to Alex Pereira 6 months ago. Jiri Prochazka lands 5.38 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 5.59. He has an 81% finish rate. This fight is truly a pick'em. Jamahal Hill is 33 years old, 12-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a brutal KO loss to Alex Ferreira as well 8 months ago. Jamahal Hill lands 7.18 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.51. He has a 50% finish rate. Jiri Prochazka is coming off getting KO'd twice in the same fight against Alex Pereira 6 months ago. I don't know how he's going to look coming back from that, but you never know with the samurai. Like, Jiri probably was in a room somewhere in total darkness and found where he needed to be. Jamahal Hill is also coming off a KO loss to Alex Pereira, and he's also coming back from an injury. It's going to be interesting to see which guy can bounce back and look like their normal self. Jiri's very explosive and has power in both hands. Jamahal Hill has power in both hands as well, but I think Jiri has a bit more power. With that being said, this is truly a pick'em fight. Either guy can win it. I know Jamahal Hill's defense is a little bit better than Jiri's, but I'm banking on Jiri landing something and just overwhelming Jamahal Hill. So I'm going with Jiri Prochazka. In the nenext fight, we have Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov for the bantamweight title. Merab is 34 years old, 18-4, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Come off a decision win 3 months ago. Merab lands 4.35 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.31. He has an 18% finish rate and is a plus 260 underdog. Umar Nurmagomedov is 29 years old, 18-0, come off a decision win 5 months ago. Umar lands 4.46 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.36. He has a 50% finish rate and is a minus 350 favorite. Merab is a wrestler with unlimited cardio that essentially is a cheat code. He uses that pressure and pace as a weapon to drown his opponents, and it's been very effective. Umar Nurmagomedov, as you know, is the cousin of Khabib Nurmagomedov, has the same high-level grappling, but also brings elite-level kickboxing as well. Umar has some of the best kicks in the division. We have 2 fighters that are on double-digit win streaks, 2 high-level grapplers, but Umar does offer a submission threat, whereas Merab isn't really a submission threat. Umar has really good kicks. Is he going to use his kicks in this fight? They can always get caught, and Merab can get a takedown off catching a kick. Will Merab be able to use his striking and get through the striking of Umar? Merab has one of the best resumes in bantamweight history. Guys on his resume include Sean O'Malley, Henry Cejudo, Peter Young, Jose Aldo, and Marlon Moraes. Merab will come to fight. He won't be overwhelmed by the moment of fighting an undefeated Nurmagomedov. Umar has that pedigree, of course, where he trains with some of the best fighters in the world and has been studying them for years. And as you know, it rubs off people. I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov and new bantamweight champion of the world. I just think the striking difference there, and he also has elite level grappling as well. It's just going to be enough to figure out how to beat Merab. In the main event, we have Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan for the lightweight title. Islam Makhachev is 33 years old, 26-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 7 months ago. Islam lands 2.65 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.54. He has a 63% finish rate and is a minus 410 favorite. Arman Tsarukyan is 28 years old, 22-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 8 months ago. Arman Tsarukyan lands 3.79 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.84. He has a 56% finish rate and is a plus 320 underdog. Islam Makhachev is in a rare position where he's fighting for more than just the lightweight title. He's 1 win away from becoming the greatest lightweight in UFC history. He's elite everywhere, on the feet, in the clinch, on the ground. I do think this title defense will be just as tough as the title defense against Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 284. Arman Tsarukyan is a very well-rounded fighter, and he is also elite. He has excellent wrestling, good striking, and power in his hands. He's looking to shock the world and avenge his loss to Islam Makhachev from 2019. Both fighters have gotten so much better since that first fight. Arman ran out of gas in that first fight from all the wrestling. He learned a very important lesson on how to manage your gas tank in a fight. I think Islam will have a slight skill advantage on the feet. Arman will have a little bit of a power advantage with the hands. The grappling exchanges between these two is going to be extraordinary. Both guys in the first fight just kept reversing one another time and time again. And I think we're going to see a similar thing play out when the grappling sequences initiate. This is the tough one, is I think Arman matches up very well to Islam Makhachev wherever the fight goes. And I think Arman definitely will be prepared. He does have a training partner that is very experienced in Dustin Poirier. But I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev. I think the big fight experience, 5-round fights is going to be key because Arman Tsarukyan has never been in championship rounds, and I think that's going to be an issue going into such a big fight with Islam Makhachev. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Questions, comments, feedback is always appreciated. And as always, until next time.